Today, I'll be making a watch strap from this leather hide. This is a crocodile leather hide with a matte finish, which is my favorite finish for crocodile leather. For the inside of the watch strap, I'll be using this Zermatt calfskin made by Haas. This is the go-to leather for lining watch straps, and I have two sections skived down to 1.2mm and 0.6mm. This is the vintage watch that I'll be making the watch strap for. The style of the strap is called a watch strap conversion, which is normally only used for pocket watches, but I think will work well for this watch because it is a bit small. These are 3D printed molds that I designed in a previous video. Since that video, I have made some improvements, which include adding a perimeter line and stitching line to be marked onto the leather by the mold. I have also made a paper pattern, which you can find a link to in the video description. I will start by using the printed mold to help select the best area to be used for the strap, and marking in a trim line using a silver pen, and then cutting it out, ready to use for molding. I will repeat the same process to cut out the 0.6mm Zermatt lining, also for molding. To wet form the leather, I can place it in a container and soak it in room temperature water. After 20 minutes, I can remove the leather from the water and dry off any dripping with a paper towel. I will be using the watch to form the inside of the mold, and I can protect it from moisture by wrapping it in a layer of plastic wrap. To begin wet forming, I will apply the lining material first with the grain side in contact with the watch. Next, I can apply the crocodile leather and slowly mold it over the watch by hand. Now I'm ready to apply the 3D printed molds to the front and on the back. I will use binder clips to hold the molds in place overnight while the leather dries in shape. The leather has had time to completely dry out, and I'm ready to remove it from the mold. The mold has left clear lines on the leather, which should make it easy to trim and punch in stitching holes later. The lining leather has also formed nicely and will make a good fit onto the watch. Now I will use the paper pattern to help trim the lining material to size, and then skive off the inside edge to help reduce bulk. For the interlining material, I will use this 0.4mm Salamander bonded leather, which will help to reinforce the watch strap. I will cut a small piece of the interlining and then glue and stick it to the lining to reinforce the cutout where the strap will pass through later. Now I can apply glue to the crocodile leather and leather lining and stick them together while the glue is still wet. I will insert the watch and use the printed molds to again help form the leather into shape while the glue dries. Now I can remove the mold from the leather, and the strap is now looking good with a well-defined shape. I will then use the marked outline to trim the crocodile, and then position my pricking irons into the marked stitching line to punch in 3mm space stitching holes. For the thread, I'll be using Roke linen thread in 0.5mm size, and rub on a generous amount of beeswax. I will use saddle stitching to stitch around the edge, and then flatten down the stitches using lined leather pliers. Next, I will use a circular punch for the center hole and punch from the inside where the watch outline is a lot clearer. Then I will use an oblong punch for the cutout where the strap will loop through later, and then sand all the edges smooth in preparation for edge painting. For this project, I will use Vernis edge paint. I will use the dark brown paint as a base color, and then add red paint until I get a color that better matches the reddish brown color of the crocodile. I will apply only a thin coat of edge paint for the first layer, then mark in the crease line and apply heat to smooth down the paint. I will then sand and repaint the edge until it is smooth, which will complete the top section of the watch strap for now. I apply the same wet molding technique for the bottom section of the watch strap, so the outline and stitching center line could also be marked onto the leather. Next, I will cut out the rough outline of the strap and then skive the inside edge of the crocodile leather. These are the three pieces that make up the bottom section of the watch strap. With the pieces separate, now is a good time to apply personalized stamps to the inside lining of the watch strap. Next, I will apply glue to the interlining and the crocodile before sticking them together. Then I will apply glue to the interlining and lining, leaving an unglued section for the strap keeper. And then stick this piece centered onto the lining leather using a watch strap bending mold, which will give the watch strap a natural bend to better conform around a wrist. Now I can use the outline marked in by the mold to trim to the final dimensions. Next, I will punch in the stitching holes along the marked line and saddle stitch this time using a stitching pony. Then I can hammer down on the stitches to flatten them out. I can then complete the edges by edge painting, edge creasing, sanding, and then repainting. This is the bottom section, now also complete and ready to be joined to the top section. I will start by roughing up the area to be glued, then apply glue and stick both sections together using needles in the end stitching holes to help align the two sections, and then trim off the excess material. Next, I will skive off the end that will be holding onto the spring bar, and then apply glue and stick down the end by folding it over a spring bar size rod, and then put aside this part of the strap for later. Now I will begin working on the strap keepers. I will start by cutting 6mm strips of crocodile leather and gluing them onto the lining leather while bending the leather to create a natural curve in the keeper. Next, I can trim off the excess lining material and then skive both ends of the keeper where they will overlap. Now I can apply a first layer of edge paint and then mark in a crease line. After applying glue, I can stick the ends of the keeper together and then chisel in some stitching holes. Next, I can saddle stitch the bottom side of the keeper and apply a finishing layer of edge paint. The two keepers are now complete and ready to be installed onto the strap. I will apply glue to the keeper and the watch strap and then stick on the first keeper in a fixed position. Then I can glue and stick down the lining leather over this keeper. Next, I will chisel in the remaining stitching holes on the strap and then saddle stitch both sides starting at the last stitched hole. These are the two stitching lines complete, with both stitching lines stitched in the same upwards direction and ended with double stitches mirrored at the top. Now I can cut the ends of the thread and then lock them in place with some white glue. After pressing down on the stitches to flatten them, I can now sand the edges until smooth before applying a first layer of edge paint. Next, I can crease the edge, apply heat to the paint to smooth it, and then sand the edge and reapply edge paint. To finish off all the edges, I will rub on wax and then smooth the wax using my creaser on a low temperature setting. Finally, I can use some canvas cloth to buff the wax until uniform and polished. Now it is time to install the buckle onto the strap, and then insert the watch and loop the strap through the cutout hole to lock it in place. I can now test fit the watch strap so I know where to position the buckle hole. After punching a single personalized hole, I can apply edge paint to the inside of the hole as a final finishing touch. This is the watch strap conversion complete and ready to wear. I'm really happy with the way the 3D printed molds were able to make a well-defined shape on the crocodile leather. I have some more exotic leather projects coming up, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss them. And if you enjoyed the video, please like and comment. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.